Hello, my friends. Welcome into the obligatory FM19 has announced new features video for the channel. I was tempted not to do this video, but there are some significant changes, and I guess we should go through them. I mean, there's already like Dr. Benji and Lelujo are doing live streams and whatever, so I'm not trying to like steal anybody's thunder or anything like that. I have not looked at this in much depth. If you're unaware, the Football Manager Twitter account at like 12:20 England time, whatever that is, it was like 7:20 this morning for me, started tweeting out, new features. Actually, they said they were behind, but no one told the German media that they were connected with, and the German media went live. And then it was kind of like, okay, just roll it out, which is just like classic, right? Like, hey, we're running behind, and they're like, we didn't get the message, boom, and they put out all their content because it was scheduled in advance, I'm sure. You can't see this, but there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 tabs that I've got open based on tweets that they have put out, which takes you actually to the SI forums. And just that, to be completely honest, I'm a little like, really? Like, you couldn't put together a video for some of this stuff? And I think part of it is that they wanted to explain it in more detail. But I still think using screenshots and text in the year 2018 for a 2019 video is a little odd. That could be the YouTuber in me. I can be completely honest with that, but I just think you could show things and have a voiceover to talk through the changes, and maybe show like this is what it used to look like. There's a bunch of different ways you could do it, and instead, and maybe they're trying to get more people to the forums, which hats off to them. So I'm not trying to be like, this isn't like, I'm not going to be like intentionally critical. It's just kind of like, oh, that's interesting that you're tweeting out some stuff and then sending people to forum posts. But anyway, so the first thing they tweeted out, which I think, again, I'd love to have been in the conversation on like, how do we go through and like, in what order do we announce features? So the first thing they announced is a new style. So it looks different. They've updated the look. So I'm just going to click, I'm not going to read through all this, but you can click through. It's very purple. Lots of people have said this, but it is quite purple. Whatever, it's a color. You got to change it. They've, added, I think, the slashes here. The team logos look to be a bit bigger than they have in previous setup screens, so that's good, I guess. Let's look here. There seems to be a lot of space here. I'm interested to see what happens with the skins. Like, I really like my DF11 skin that I use on my saves, so obviously if someone is skinning the game, stuff has changed, so it's gonna probably take them a little bit of time, at least during the beta period, I would imagine. For if you have like a favorite skin, you're probably gonna have to wait, would be my guess, for your person or team or whoever does the skin to figure things out. But okay, it shows, their history. I mean, it looks fairly similar. It's just, it's moved this stuff up here. But I do think, man, there's a lot of space there that, I mean, it's got this cool thing, but, bump it up a little bit. Whoop, I didn't think I clicked, but I did. Squad, again, I'm assuming I don't see a plus sign over here to change your, like the columns, but I've got to imagine it's there. If it's not, that is absolutely tragic. Because, if you've seen my saves, right, I'm doing like I have the last 5, I have their average rating, I have this column here, their appearances, goals, assists, key headers, key tackles, their average, or not their average, the average rating is over here for me, but like the star rating of the current ability and potential ability. So I'm really hoping that's just we are not showing that for some reason on the squad page, but you should be able to customize it, because the past 2 editions of Football Manager that I've played have been customizable. But again, okay, it looks pretty much the same. You got a lot of space here. You could slide this over. That's what I would do. This screen looks fairly similar. Again, these to me, again, you don't know what resolution these screenshots are taking. These logos look a little bit bigger to me. I've got this on my skin. I can't remember what the standard skins looks like. It's got the finances. Okay, board confidence, like this looks all the same to me. So, okay, and obviously they've gone with the slashy advanced diagonal polygon look, for like we mentioned on the logos. Okay, so it looks a little bit different. Cool. Dynamics looks very similar. I mean, I don't know if there's a different number of columns, but it looks the same. Like you've got your team, it breaks it down into in terms of the happiness. They're not showing the actual, the overview screen, but in terms of this, you got your team leaders, highly influential players, blah, blah, blah. That looks to be the same. Tactics screen, very different. I think people who have played previously will like this, because I want to say it was FM18. The tactics screen changed a lot, and like this view was different. Lots of stuff going on here, which we'll get, I think, into one of the other tabs that I have open. But essentially, there's new roles, and you have in possession, in transition, and out of possession ideas, which is a really, really good idea, because there's been times, right, where your fullbacks are getting smoked by like an inside forward, but you want to play wide, but you don't have a thing in FM18 to where you can say, okay, in defense, tuck in, like don't get burned on the inside because our center backs are terrible or whatever. So now you can have specific tactical adjustments made for what you're doing. I love that idea. I think it is going to be kind of challenging to pick up, right? Like, because if you're like me, I've not played, maybe this was in previous versions of like Championship Manager, like way back in the day, but I've not played an edition of Football Manager where you have now essentially 3 tactics in one, if that makes sense. So now you're going to have to figure out how to make that work. And while I think that's awesome, I think it's going to be challenging to figure out, especially if you're a new player. Like, oh my gosh, like I got to come up with 3 tactics in one. So if you're studying 3 whole tactics, like 4-4-2, 4-2-3-1, and whatever, 3-5-2, now you've essentially got 9 tactics is how I'm looking at this. Again, I've not played the game or whatever, so I don't know, maybe if you can copy them over or something like that, but it adds a level of depth, which is good, because that's how football is played now, right? Like, hey, we're going to tuck in on defense, but then we're going to counter and go wide and whatever. Like that, it's a positive development. I'm just curious as to how much help they give you with sorting it out, if that makes sense. 2 ball-winning midfielders, aggressive. Just saying. Training is another thing. Again, there's a whole page dedicated to this. Has changed significantly, and I think it is going to overwhelm me personally. But we'll talk about that. So you can take a look at all the screenshots. I mean, okay, so it's fairly cut and dry. Now, training overhaul. They actually have qualified coaches working at the studio, and they've expanded the studio's knowledge to a series of internal foot talks where people working within football, including managers, both club and international, directors of football, and others, have imparted their knowledge to help improve the game. So that's really cool. Like, it gives a little bit of an insight into how Football Manager is making these decisions. And, like in training, you've been able to do attacking, do defending, do ball control. And they're getting feedback going like, well, we don't do that. Like, we spend part of a session working on ball control. We spend part of a session working on attacking, and more specifically, what kind of attacking and stuff like that. So the fact that they've taken that feedback and implemented into training is a good thing. So I'm not trying to poo-poo the idea. It's a good thing, but I just think it's going to be like, oh my gosh. Like right now, it's just a big change, because right now to me, training doesn't really matter all that much. I pretty much do whatever my assistant manager says we should be focusing on, where it's like, hey, we should be working on ball control right now. I'm like, sure, like sounds good, because it hasn't seemed that significant. Now, I could just be a very bad Football Manager player. That's probably true. But the fact that now, look, you've got within training style physical, you've got endurance, physical, resistance, overall, recovery, outfield, defending, quickness, attacking, rest. Then we're playing a game. Rest, match like training style, possession, recovery, ball retention, ball distribution, attacking, recovery, like the attacking patient, attacking a direct, attacking wings, attacking shadow play. Like it's a lot. And that's good. Again, I just think it's going to be like, they've implemented a somewhat tutorial system, is my understanding. It's one of the other tabs I'm going to show you. So hopefully that gives you a lot of help. And you could just say to your assistant manager, like, please run this. But it's just interesting to me that, like, that's a pretty big swing from, like, most people that I've heard from go like, yeah, training, to like, it looks like training is super important and interesting. I hope they give some sort of guidance along that. So you can see training style wing play would be my guess. And so you've got You've got goalkeepers defending and attacking, bars of progress, stuff like that. Physical, quickness, match tactics, defending wide, attacking wings, match tactics, recovery. So like chance creation, there's just, it seems like a lot. It shows you injury risk, the condition of your team, fatigue, like team. There's a lot. There's just a lot. Again, I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I just think that's a lot. You can have mentoring groups, which is really, really cool. I like that a lot. To where I'm guessing you take your, like, what is this? Isaac's success. I don't know if you can see this on my screen. Isaac's success is 22. You're mentoring him because he's an other to two core social group players, and Tom Cleverley and Troy Deeney, who are 30 and 29, and they're both driven. So hopefully it's like that. It's like tutoring, but like maybe more in depth, or maybe you're getting, maybe the tutoring allows you to, and again, this may be in the blog post that I've not read or the forum post, but maybe you do tutoring for specific like ability stuff, but then from like a personality standpoint, like you want him to be driven, so you put him with two senior players that can mentor him around his personality. Estimated effect. That's interesting. That's significant for them, but light for Isaac's success. So, okay, mentoring groups. And again, we'll look at the forum post. I'm just going off the screenshots. Positional units. Okay, so you have a defensive unit that can train together, an attacking unit that trains together. I'm curious what happens to your box-to-box midfielders, but okay. There's a rest tab. Training intensity schedule. Automatically set training intensity and rest based on player condition. Okay, so if someone is in really poor condition, like because they played a game that went 120 minutes into penalties, they're at 59% or less, they only do half intensity until they recover. And then 60 to 69%, they do normal intensity. And if they're at 90%, they do double intensity. So you can influence how much training they are actually doing. So that's cool. I mean, that makes sense, right? Like if you've got a game on Sunday and a cup game on Wednesday and a game on Saturday, your players are going to be more tired, and having to rest. Like what I do right now with training is after games, I'm automatically resting like a day, just automatically. And sometimes it's like, okay, we've got 3 games in that period of time. Like we pretty much are not doing training, but you kind of have to manually do it. And that's frankly annoying. The fact that you can set it up to where that automatically changes is pretty cool. I would love to know what intensity levels there are. Like, is it just half, normal, and double? Or could you do like 3/4? Like maybe I want my 70-79% to do, or my, half intensity, then 3/4, then normal, then double. So we'll have to take a look at that if it's shared in the forum post. And again, it shows more of, injury risk. This is the overview page. Okay. Again, there's a lot going on. So let's take a look. Yeah, mentoring groups, 3 players, senior players work closely with younger guys. Mentoring affects the younger player's personality and player traits. Okay. So again, that's the idea. Is I don't know if they've removed tutoring. I don't think that's mentioned, but this is more along the personality of the player. So you're trying to get that unambitious, for determination player that has come through your youth ranks, who has really good attributes but is just horrific on the personality and the determination. You can use mentoring to try and change their personality, make them more driven or resolute or something positive that you're looking for. Okay. It doesn't really say what the options are on the screen from the half intensity, normal intensity, and double. It just says like you can automatically set rest periods for them based on their condition. Okay. Moving on. Big. They've added VAR and goal line technology, which I imagine is going to cause lots of frustration, because it causes frustration in real life. And if we're trying to mimic real life here, there's going to be times where you're like, really? So I think it's fascinating. I'd love to see the implementation. The goal line technology is interesting. To me, okay, so if you're going to implement take VAR out of it, okay? Because you definitely had referee ratings in games, so that makes sense. Goal line technology to me is, I can't think of having had many times where I felt like that went in and it didn't count. Like I've had a couple where it like hits the inside post and goes over and hits the other inside post, and you're like, seriously, how did that not go in? So that's cool. Maybe it's that. But I wonder, with this being implemented, does that mean there's going to be better animations and more close calls about the ball going over the line? Because a lot of times, like, the ball's just smashed in the back of the net, and you're like, that was a goal. Like, you don't need goal line technology for that. So you kind of have to think, like, if they've added that, have they added other things to make more of those situations happen? Who knows? It'll add... VR and goal line will create a stir off the pitch as well, and post-match press conferences, blah, blah, blah. The thing that I'm tentatively most excited about, more than 500 animations have been replaced or improved. Are you thinking what I'm thinking? When I see that, when I see this, I'm like looking for hidden text here, like hidden text that you can't see that says goalkeepers. It says these include ball control animations, like a back pass, crosses, headers, passes, shots, tackles, some celebrations, and even crowd movements. You can change whatever you want on the tactics screen and the training screen and whatever. If my goalkeeper stops looking into the stands when the ball is passed back to him, I'm going to be happy. I don't even care if the other animations of the goalkeeper aren't fixed. If you fixed the, hey, oh, the ball went in, because it's a bad animation, I'm going to be happy. I'm a little nervous that it doesn't mention it specifically. I've got to think they know that's a frustration point. Another visual change you'll notice, especially if you choose to manage in one of the smaller leagues, are the improvements we've made to stadiums that have a capacity of up to 5,000. This is huge. You'll see more variety of these types of stadiums, including more variety in the materials that the stadiums are made from, which gives more personality to the clubs at that level. Additionally, we've included disabled fans in all types of stadiums. This is massive. That's been one of the frustrations, because I'm drawn towards the small leagues, right? In the journeymans that I've done and whatever, it's like I like the smaller clubs and kind of getting your start there. But it's like some of the clubs we had in Iceland with Stokesbury, like they literally play on a pitch with like this much a stand, like 6 people can sit in the stands, but the game renders as if it's got, you know, these giant things with huge lights and seating all around, and you're like, that's just not realistic. So I'm interested to see what that means, because like more variety in the types of stadiums, including more variety in the materials. Okay, so the material change would be nice so they all don't look the same, but I want them to not physically look the same, where it's like, hey, there's this massive stand, where that's just not realistic in a stadium of that size. So that to me is huge. Team talks contain more information. Dynamics have been integrated so you can see how your team leaders interact, blah, blah, blah. So this is kind of a big post if you're going to be reading through it. VAR or VAR, goal line technology, animation changes, stadium changes in terms of visuals. Huge. Okay, new manager induction, which are essentially in-game on-screen tutorials, allow for new and less experienced players to get grips with different responsibilities. Huge. This is something that Loki Doki did a video on. Like, there has to, the steep learning curve of Football Manager keeps players out, was his opinion, and it sounds like they've taken that to heart. So it'll walk you through things. I may do this because I'm going like, oh gosh, there's a lot of changes with tactics and training. I may ask for help with that. It gives it for, let's just look, tactics, training, scouting, medical center, squad dynamics. So it's going to show you all those things. Here's how to use it. I think it'd be better if a video could pop up, but cool. At least it's there, because the problem Football Manager has to be thinking about is, how do we get new players into the game? Okay. Official Bundesliga license. I'm not going to go over this too much. Essentially, you don't have to do, apparently, the things to the database that everyone knows how to do to like get Germany to work, the German national team to work. You don't have to do any database editing to get the Bundesliga working. Now, the other stuff, who knows? You probably still have to do that, but at least the Bundesliga is working. Revamp tactics module. It shows this to you, okay? We've added so many things, blah, blah, blah. We felt all these additions and things we wanted to add. So they've added a lot recently, but they wanted to add more. We hadn't successfully presented them to you, the managers, in a cohesive manner, so you could get the best of the power at your fingertips and cope with the new additions we wanted to make for this year. The first thing you'll notice when using the Tactics Creator is the addition of tactical styles, which reflect some of the most famous tactical systems in football, such as Gegenpress, Tiki-Taka, Catenaccio, and many more. So you can, that can be the flavor of your team. That's cool. When you first click on the tactics screen, you're presented with a full list of available styles with descriptions, as well as the option to create your own style or to ask your assistant to select a style for you. Once a style is selected, you're shown an overview of the team, instructions associated with that style, and the formation that it works best with. You can then select a formation and complete the tactics setup. You'll notice that player roles have been pre-selected to suit the tactical style that you've chosen, although of course you're still able to tweak these. That is really cool because there's been, people have had to come up with, okay, here, how can we reflect gegenpressing using the available tactics and the player instructions and the team instructions and whatever inside of Football Manager. Now it does it for you, or at least gives you the, it's like, here's the original recipe, and then you can kind of tweak with your own ingredients, if that makes sense. So you've got, we want to control possession. We want to gegenpress, which is instantly win back possession and high intensity running. You can do tiki-taka, dominate possession, relentless pressing, patiently wait for openings. You can do vertical tiki-taka. You can do wing play, route one, fluid counterattack, direct counterattack, catenaccio. It's giving those options to you to begin with. So you click fluid counterattack and it gives you these available formations. Like you probably want to play a 4-1-4-1 with a DM wide, or 5-3-2 wing backs, or 4-4-1-1. There are other options, but here's what we're recommending. And then it shows you the mentality, what to do in possession, in transition, and out of possession. That is really cool. That's going to make it a lot easier to like come up with a base system where you're not having to just kind of guess to see what's going to work and what's not. So, and it has assigned all these people to, you know, specific player roles. Pressing forward is a new one. When possession has been lost, what do you want to do? You want to regroup or counter press? So like it gives you all of these options. That's really cool. So I like, just based off this, what I'm seeing, I like the changes, and I like that it gives you options to adjust them, but you're not having to figure out all of the options, right? So like what I was talking about earlier, with each tactic, right? You have 3 things you now have to decide: in possession, in transition, out of possession, but it's giving you simple options to make those choices. You're not getting the full, like right now, the full team instructions page and going like, okay, what do I click? Like what do I tell my players to do? Like it's like, okay, you want to counter press or regroup? Make it easy. I want to regroup. I want to fall back. When possession has been won, do we hold our shape or do we counter? Let's counter fast. You know, like it gives you simple, apparently, choices there. I like that. And then okay, when you've got possession, you now have these. Okay, so in each of these sections, in possession, in transition, out of possession, it looks like you've got 3 columns of options that you can, and sliders. You don't just have shorter passing, mixed passing, more direct passing in route 1. You've got a slider. Okay, interesting. And then it gives you, so you've got the columns to make those choices. Again, I like that. It makes it, it's like it's adding depth simply, right? Without adding so much complexity that you're like, oh my gosh, I don't know what to do here. It looks like you can, let's look here. Can you grab the defensive line and move it up? It looks like there's arrows. So yes, like instead of just drop deeper, you know, normal, slightly higher, you can specifically put players or your defensive line where you want it. That's really cool. It makes sense, right? Like it shouldn't be that hard to say like, guys, stand here rather than stand in this general area on the team instructions page as it is right now. Different roles. You get pressing forward rather than defensive forward, but it now has an attack option. Okay. No nonsense center back. Interesting. Is that a different way of saying defensive center back? I'm not going to read all this. No nonsense fullback has replaced defensive fullback. So I like it. I like it a lot. I like those changes. And again, I'm not going to read through all of these. I think what I like is it seems, again, without having read the entire forum post, it seems pretty cut and dry as to what those changes look like in terms of here's the 3 columns, here's your options that you can check or select for the tactic that you're building. It shows you, like here, if you click counter press, it shows the players, they're going to go counter press, they're moving forward. I'm guessing if you click regroup, it's red arrows backwards would be my guess. But I like it. So, long video, my goodness. Lots of changes. Let me know what you think. I really wish they'd done a video, but maybe they're enabling us the capability to do videos so that, we can get views. I don't know. But I overall, I like the changes. I'm a little intimidated by the training, if I'm being honest. The tactics, now that we've taken a look at that screen, not as worried about that. And really, the thing I'm most excited about is to see if my goalkeeper will stop staring into the crowd. What do you think? Leave a comment, hit the like button. We'll see you next time.